Joyce Harley are our guests. MarriageBuilders.com. Encourage you to visit their website. We have resources here at the ministry of theirs that we're making available. Visit our website, and we're going to put together some bundled deals, those kinds of things, because I want to make it as affordable as possible to be able to get these resources into your home and for your marriage. Love Busters, the book. His Needs, Her Needs, the book, and then as well a workbook that complements both of those. I've read it. Now how do I apply it? How do I bring application to it? I'm beginning to create a dream. I'm getting it, but how am I going to get there? And Bill, I'm so grateful, for you coming and helping. Joyce, wonderful. I'm glad you wrote the books because you're a man that thinks like me. I want great benefit with not a whole lot of work. And your approach and your love for people is so very, very evident. We talked about becoming experts at meeting emotional needs.
Right.
All right. How do we become those kinds of experts?
Well, I take a person through a process that most businesses would take a person through. And that is you first define your objective. What are we trying to achieve? And let's suppose we talk about affection. And I want to make this very linear. I want to make it very clear. So we begin with the person who has the need for affection, which is usually the wife, and she writes out what she would call affection. And she can do anything she wants. She has, this is what I would like my husband to do, and I would consider that to be affectionate behavior. And an example might be a list of things that he does throughout the day. He hugs me when we're in bed together and tells me he loves me. When we're having breakfast together, he looks at me, does not read a newspaper, but makes sure that he knows that that I know I have his attention. Yeah. Then when he goes off to work, he hugs me before we leave. He gives me a big kiss. He says he loves me, and he'll call me during the morning. Then he does call me during the morning, just to see how I'm doing, what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. And he tells me he loves me. And then in the afternoon, he calls again and says, "Hi, I've been thinking about you. How are you doing?" And before he leaves to come home, he calls me to tell me when he'll be home and if there's something I'd like him to pick up on the way. And then when he gets home, instead of watching TV or doing something that ignores me, he sits down with me and has a cup of coffee and talks to me a little bit about how his day went and how my day went. And then we have dinner together, and he looks at me and talks to me. And then when we are after dinner, he helps me with the dishes. And then during the evening, he holds my hand while we're watching TV or puts his arm around me. And then when we're in bed together, he gives me a big hug and a kiss, tells me he loves me, and we go to sleep. That is a real list that I got from a particular woman who said, that's what I call an affectionate day. He then checked off each item on the list until it became a habit. He had this list in front of him of things to do, and he checked it off every day, and she loved it. Now, it's contrived. It's things he has to do. He has to think about it. Okay, let's see. I call her this morning, 10:30. I got to put it on my schedule. I call, "Hi, honey. How'd your day went?" It seems contrived. But if she has a need for affection, even as contrived as that may sound, it deposits love units.
Even though she knew he was checking it off, she was
It meant everything to her.
She loved it.
Absolutely.
She loved it.
Everything.
And he was happy to see her happy.
Yep.
And eventually it did become really him.
Then it became creative. See, for him, once he got the basics covered, he got creative. He brought her flowers.
See, when you went through that list to begin with, boring, dull, what do you mean? That's affection, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Yeah. Men will quickly dismiss because it makes no sense. That makes no sense. You mean you want me to just check this off on
It
your
wouldn't appeal
list?
to me, they say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't appeal to me. So why would it appeal to you? That's stupid. You have so destroyed and minimized your spouse so much. Meaning, here's what you've said: your feelings don't matter.
What you need doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, but this man became an expert.
Right.
He became an affectionate husband.
Yes.
And he didn't think he had it in him. See, I'm just not the affectionate type. I don't do that kind of thing.
But any man watching this and listening to that
Yeah.
list, you make sure you get your list from your wife, because hers may be totally different.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to
Because
figure
the
out.
definition is individual to the woman.
Yeah.
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 Also, she fills out a list of affectionate behavior she doesn't want. And so there were things on that list of things that he did that he thought was affectionate that turned out to be self-gratification.
Yeah, yeah.
So that he got something from her that she didn't appreciate. And that, you see, is also important. In being affectionate, you got to do things that she interprets as affection and not interpret as self-gratification. You see. So the basic idea is that once he gets into the habit of doing all of this, then she fills out a little form we call the affection worksheet that identifies whether or not he's done a good job. She evaluates his behavior. And of course, a lot of people think, this is ridiculous. I can't imagine going through a checklist. We will warn people, though, do not leave your checklist at work on your desk. One man did that once, and his people at work discovered what he was up to, and he got no end of ridicule from his coworkers.
Unfortunate.
So
but-
keep it in your pocket.
Right,
Yeah.
there you go.
But the basic idea is that he becomes an affectionate man, and it becomes effortless, and it becomes meaningful, and then he adds value to it. She enjoys it
That's
right
good.
off the bat.
That's right.
But then he adds value as he does it, and then eventually on her worksheet, he's doing a fabulous job. She doesn't have to fill out the worksheet anymore. He's in. He's done it.
What's your reaction to this?
My reaction?
Yes. Uh-huh.
This is going to cause you to do something you've never done before. And that's probably one of the biggest hurdles that couples have,
Right.
Is to initiate the inertia, to get this thing
And getting
in
out of their comfort
motion.
zone.
Yeah. And so you're going to have to, it has to come with intention. And the whole thing is you got to give it more than a week.
Oh, yes.
You really got to you didn't get to the place where you are overnight. It took time. And as well, if you miss a day, if you miss 2 days, if you miss a week, if you miss 2 weeks, go back. That's why I asked at the beginning, how long is it going to take? And you said about 6 months. And I came back and I said, well, for me, lasting transformation, because here's the thing, what we want is not simply behavioral modification. Okay? Because that lasts only as long as you're working the plan. But what we want is effortless victory that comes out of a transformed heart. You see, with a new heart comes new desire. You see, and the whole thing is I've created, a warped view of you and of myself and of our marriage, and it's been wrong. And I have to revisit and retool and redo. And guess what? That will require behavioral change. I have to do things differently. But the whole thing is that because of God, okay, He can transform me into this new person. As you said, that man, he became an affectionate man. There was a change. Right. He's different now.
Well, in this case, the guy's heart was in the right place to begin with.
Yeah.
But his behavior wasn't.
Right.
See, he did care about his wife. He did love her.
But he didn't know
but
that
he
his
didn't-
behavior
he didn't
was
communicate
destructive.
it effectively.
Yeah.
And so what he did was he engaged in affectionate behavior that she appreciated because she knew in his heart he really did care about her. you see. But he wasn't expressing it to her in the
Yeah.
right way.
Yeah.
Now, the same thing can be done for sexual fulfillment. It can be done for conversation. It can be done for recreational companionship. So we basically have a program, we basically have a strategy for all four of those. And we say that if in your marriage you're lacking any one of those, we recommend that you go through a program of behavioral change where you will meet the needs of this other person. Now, what happens when you do that is you're depositing love units. If the person has the need, you're going to be able to make that person feel cared for, because you will in fact be caring. Because the person feels cared for, they're going to be more enthusiastic about meeting your needs, which will make you more enthusiastic about meeting your spouse's needs. You end up having a positive feedback loop, and you end up feeling like doing all of these things. Where right now, at this point in time, you might not feel like doing any of it.
You're right.
So you might not feel like being affectionate, you might not feel like making love, you might not feel like enjoying recreational time together. But by doing it with each other, where it's not just one guy doing it, you're both doing it, you're both starting to build up each other's love banks, and you're going to start feeling differently. Now, the one guy that I was talking about, he felt affection for his wife, but he wasn't behaving the right way. But you can also not feel a blessed thing, and if you are doing these things for each other, the feelings will start to return, and you'll start feeling affection for each other.
And it's interesting how the other concerns that you might have in your marriage all of a sudden don't become as important once you begin the road to recovery. On annoying habits. I'm thinking of the woman, Bill had her write out all the annoying habits that her husband was performing in their marriage. 24 pages, single space of annoying habits, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know how much motivation I'd find in that?
Well,
None.
None,
yeah.
right.
Now, his list was a blank sheet.
Yeah, he had
nothing.
no problem
Yeah.
with her
She
at
wasn't
all.
annoying him a bit.
Right.
Except to write up 24 pages of annoying habits.
Yeah, there you go.
That was annoying.
But the point was that he started working on the first three.
What, 3 at a time.
Okay.
3 at a time.
And how far did he have to go on the list?
Well, the basic idea is that as soon as he started working on 3, he realized that a lot of the things that were on the list were things that he really didn't have to work at. He could just stop doing them.
Yeah.
And then she was encouraged enough by the fact that he was working on any of them, so that a lot of the things that she had found annoying before, she didn't find annoying anymore.
Yeah.
So
It
the basic
dissolved.
idea is
Yeah.
that the effort that you go into something like this is its own reward.
Yeah. Okay. We have about 5 minutes left, and I'm going to jump in with a big question here. This is all great. These have been some wonderful programs. I can't encourage our viewers enough to get a copy of them, either CD, DVD, resource books, those kinds of things. And there may be one in the couple, just one of them, that is like gung-ho. I can't wait. And they're like, but I have a reluctant husband, or I have a reluctant wife. They're not as excited about this as me. You know, they might be the one, they don't see anything wrong with our relationship. Everything's good. Why would I want to read a book, get a program, you know, start talking about these feelings? I'm feeling quite fine. What do we do now?
First of all, there are 3 kinds of marriages. One is where both people are enthusiastic about saving the marriage. They've gotten themselves into a hole. They didn't intend to. They didn't want their marriage to be bad. They're both willing to give it whatever benefit they can.
Okay.
That couple can read these books, fill out the forms, follow the plan, and have a successful marriage all by themselves. They don't need any help from anybody because they are basically self-driven. And we get
They place great value
thousands-
on their marriage.
We get thousands of emails from people who have done just that.
Yeah.
They've followed the plan. They are successful. They send us a letter thanking us for the help that we've given them. We don't even know who they are except for the email, and there are a lot of people that don't even send emails. So there is this group. There's also the group of people where neither one of them are interested in saving the marriages. They don't follow the plan, they're not interested in following the plan, they get divorced. We never see them, we don't know who they are.
Right.
The ones we actually see are the ones that have a reluctant spouse. One spouse isn't into the program, the other spouse is. And what they need is motivational help. What do I do with my reluctant spouse? Now, one of the things that we encourage is, if you can, find a friend or somebody in your church or a pastor or somebody that can hold you accountable, that can reach this reluctant person. Bring them in, help them out. Also, as an enthusiastic spouse, sometimes if you just deposit some love units on your own without any help from the other guy, you can lead the way.
Get
you
some
can
on board.
you can be an example. Now, you can't do this forever, but you can do it for a while, and you can encourage your reluctant spouse to get on board so that he eventually isn't reluctant anymore, or she isn't reluctant. We have in our Marriage Builders program another stage for reluctant spouses. We will say, if you've got a reluctant spouse that needs to be on board, we will coach you toward a solution to your problem. So we do have a coaching program where somebody will go after the reluctant spouse and encourage that person to be on board. We have an even deeper level of coaching where somebody from our program, they actually come to one of our seminars. We actually coach them at the seminar. We coach them after they're done, and we make sure that, but we're always dealing in every case with a couple that has a reluctant spouse. Now, here's the problem, and that is that having a reluctant spouse usually means that solving your problem is going to be a lot more difficult. If both of you can be on board, if both of you can want success, you can do it with no cost, all by yourselves, no help from anybody. It can be private. You don't need accountability. You're home free. If one guy is reluctant, I strongly encourage any couple like that to get help from the outside. Not necessarily us, but from somebody from the outside. Somebody needs to come in and reach that reluctant spouse for this person who is on board. Now, another thing I've noticed is that the reluctant spouses can switch. In other words, we have somebody that's really on board, and then the reluctant spouse comes in, and then the one that was on board now becomes reluctant. So we've seen that happen too.
Just to confuse the issue.
Same solution. You need to get some help from the outside. Somebody has to be a mentor. Somebody has to be a guide for this couple. And we don't recommend lifelong efforts in this respect, but somebody just needs to get them working together.
We call it, they're stuck. Let's just get them unstuck and get them on their way. Get them on their way.
But to give it a try and try to get your spouse on board by pursuing these ideas and see if that doesn't work first.
My biblical principle for this is that it's the kindness of God that leads one to repentance. You know, it's not his harshness, it's not the scariness, it's not his judgment, it's his kindness. You see, and in this as well, husbands and wives, begin to make those love deposits in your spouse. Whether they're asking for it or looking for it, doesn't matter. Love them, deposit within them. Because I can guarantee it will reap a harvest. It won't go unnoticed. And, sometimes when you start doing it, it seems as though for some, they'll get even harder. You mean you're trying to love me? I don't want you to love me. Just love them. And don't stand alone. Don't go to a place of isolation and retreat. We live in what we would call the family of God. We care about one another. We'll fight for one another. As you were saying, Bill, find those ones that will come alongside possibly a husband who's reluctant. Let it be a man that will come.
Absolutely.
Let it be a man.
Gotta be a same-sex
that just spurs him on. Not a condemn, but out of a love.
Exactly.
Those types of things. Thank you. We're out of time, but this has been wonderful. I can't wait till you're back again.
We
All
look
right?
forward to it.
Minneapolis is not
Not too
that
far.
far.
Not too far, no, not
that
at all.
far.
Blessings in your ministry as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us be a part.
Thank you. The resources are available from us here at New Day Ministries. Visit our website as well, marriagebuilders.com. Go there. Hey, this has been wonderful. We'll be back to close the program right after this.
Is the chemistry you once had with your spouse all but gone? Do you bring out the worst in each other? Then you need the book Love Busters. Dr. Willard Harley identifies the 6 love busters that tears marriages apart and shows you how to avoid them. Then take your marriage off the charts with His Needs, Her Needs. Dr. Harley explains the most common emotional needs for spouses and sets up your love bank accounts. This explosive combo of books by Dr. Willard Harley is available for purchase today.